What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Keith and Mike Watch Deep Space Nine. We are back after a week off, and we are here to speak about Season 4, Episode 9, Our Man, Bashir. We have already, missed the opportunity to be in tuxes, but, for the finale, we will go in tuxes. Mike, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. This is a quick turnaround. Watched last night, late night. I'm still dealing with a little jet lag, so I was so thankful that a bunch of the patrons, full handful of the patrons, and a surprise guest, Keith Varney, which I promised you'd get a good welcome, Keith, and you got a nice welcome, didn't you? It felt good.
That's right. Well, you did text me. You're like, get on right now, everybody's here, and I'm like, all right. So I hopped in. It was fun. I actually watched the second half of the episode with you and the patrons, just chatting. I was not on camera, but it was really fun to watch you experience that for the first time, and everybody else experience you experiencing it for the first time.
Yeah, the new experience that is happening now. It used to be just Keith would give like a non-spoilery tease for next week's episode, and and he'd keep it vague enough that I wouldn't quite know what he was intuiting. Like, is it going to be good, bad? And now it's not just Keith. People on the Patreon feed, on YouTube, are all setting me up, and so I was really excited for last night, and thankfully I had some friends to watch with. So I can't wait to dig in with you here today.
Yeah, no, it's a really, really fun. Famous episode of Deep Space Nine. We're gonna get into it, lots to talk about, but before we do that, we have to give your viewer ratings for last week's episode, The Sword of Kahless, which, as it turns out, not a favorite for everybody here. Joshua Cronin gave it a 69. Kevin Miles, on the other hand, gives it a 95, however qualifying it as a sentimental vote because he met John Colicos a couple times, apparently was a really nice guy.
Okay.
And of course, we have some super tips, which means, or super thanks, whatever they call it, which means we read your comments
Cold hard cash, baby.
on the screen. Cash. Jason Moe says, is it me, or does this episode quickly go from Lord of the Rings to Board of the Rings? Rimshot. Still, I can't hate it. I like a bit of fantasy. There it is. Ooh.
Just a little fairy dust over there.
That was exciting. Get some sparkle.
Woo.
I like a bit of fantasy in my sci-fi on occasion, so I appreciate them trying that here with a mythical quest and a magical artifact elements, even if the payoff isn't so great. In the end, I hope you both enjoy your well-deserved week away, though you'll be missed. 73 self-sealing stem bolts. Mike, did you enjoy your week away?
I missed the folks. I missed the show. I caught up on some TNG, I will say.
Did you tell them what happened?
Right. So I asked Keith, I got some flights, I have some downtime. Send me 5 episodes of TNG that you think I might enjoy. 61 episodes, Keith sends me a list. He's like, in no particular order, but you know what? Just watch them all in order. I'm like, gee, it's 5, I said. I got through about 3, but at least I have a definitive list now.
Did you watch them in order?
I did. I started. So I am just all Star Trek all the time now. It's so funny that now I'm watching new episodes for me and recognizing action figures that we watched years ago. It's all, I don't even know what's happening anymore now. And I got people telling me, hey, wait till you see, if you thought the rules of the holodeck are messed up now, wait till you watch Voyager. I was like, yo, everybody pump the brakes.
you know we're doing Voyager.
Yeah, I guess so. Guess we're doing it. What aren't we doing?
I mean, we're doing it all.
I mean, what's happening right now?
What is happening? I was saying that for your birthday, it was your birthday on Monday. Happy birthday to Mike. For those of you who don't know, he turned 42.
It's true.
That's our story, and we're sticking to it.
Yep.
But like every single one of your gifts was either an action figure or a Star Trek thing, and that's kind of all my fault. Anyway, continuing on, did I say JD gave it a 68? Well, JD gave it a 68. And Sans Deity, as always, with the super thanks, has this to say. I think the episode was a big missed opportunity. It's entertaining, and Worf has needed his own episode for a long time. It's a fun little jaunt, and I love the Dax-Worf dynamic, and you can just feel the chemistry between the two characters, and the interplay between them is well done here. However, nothing really happens in this episode. There's no B-plot at all, and it's heavy on Worf, sure, but it doesn't really do much to advance his character. Worf doesn't learn anything that he carries on later in the show, and it doesn't shed any new light on his character. We already know he's noble and wouldn't use the sword like this for evil. I think when you spend 40 minutes on a new character, you should utilize that time to shape his character more moving forward. I guess it does help further develop the Dax-Worf friendship, but they spend too much time making Worf seem drugged to really delve into his true character. Even the previous episodes had done more with that. Starship Down and Hippocratic Oath both showed Worf adjusting to how things are done on Deep Space Nine, and he wasn't the main focus of those episodes. Here's an entire episode for Worf that just boils down to, well, he's buddies with Dax and he's a stand-up guy, like we saw for 7 seasons on The Next Generation. They could have done a lot more. 73 self-sealing stem bolts, hell yes. They are self-sealing. Please, Keith, please give Charlie a headbutt for me. I certainly would. Although it's cold here in New Jersey this morning, and when I opened up his window to make myself freezing, he complained about the temperature and just went straight upstairs and went back to bed. So,
Keith, will you allow me a digression?
Do you understand what the show is?
Yeah, good point. So I recognized through some social media that Jillian is out of town. So
she is.
Do you miss Pretzel?
I 100% do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does that surprise you? Did you know you had room in your heart for a little broken dog?
A little broken dog that hates me.
I think that's the element that adds a little special sauce.
But I think my therapist would say that's why you miss her, because that's what you're used to. That's what you like.
That's a good point. So let's this one's to Pretzel.
She'll be back next week. So she's having a nice time in Texas.
Is she though?
Absolutely.
She's got the same face, tongue out, just in a ball somewhere.
Well, exactly. She needs 3 things. She needs her mom, Jillian. Mm-hmm. She needs the sun, which there's more of in Texas than there is in New Jersey at the moment. And she needs to steal human food from her, humans.
Hey.
And a donut. That's, in her bed. I don't even think she's aware that she's in a different place. It doesn't matter.
I think she's living that best life. She's getting the best final chapter of all.
That was the whole plan. That was the whole plan. Okay, so that is the Sword of Kahless. Remember? Mike and I haven't, Mike was gone for a week and a half, so we just, we're catching up on our chats. All right, so let us talk about this episode, shall we?
Yeah.
Our man Bashir. All right, which aired on November 27th, 1995. Ooh, we have some synchronicity, as you would say. We're starting to line up date-wise, which is fun.
That is
Coming
cool.
right after Thanksgiving in 1995. The top song was, can't wait to hear it, Mike, Exhale, Shoop Shoop, Whitney Houston.
So it's not shoop a doop, shoop a doop a doop a doop?
I have no idea.
Oh no. Okay,
You have to make it up.
Oh no. You know what?
I just too many morbid Whitney Houston jokes about exhaling and not being with. So I'm not gonna do it, Keith. I just know that I thought them, but I knew better than to say them.
I don't know. I thought that improv was shoop.
Boy,
See?
we need to get back on our game. Gonna need a few weeks to really ramp it back up.
Written letters of apology to our patrons coming up soon.
Uh-huh.
The top movie. This is a groundbreaking and legendary film. This was the emergence of a little film company called Pixar.
Oh, Toy Story 1?
Toy Story 1.
Goodness.
which took in $29 million, ushering in the digital animation, complex storytelling that was Toy
Yeah, you can
Story.
basically make it on your phone now, so enjoy.
Yeah, you sure can.
Yeah.
But back then, this was a really big deal.
God, that's a great movie. God dang, great movie.
And Mike, tell me, definitely was not digital animation because it was hella expensive. What was on TV?
Yeah, Keith, your San Diego Chargers defeated the then Oakland Raiders. It's apropos. 12-6. What a slobber knocker that was. Yeah. We had CBS killing it still. The Nanny, The Unkindest Gift, Murphy Brown with
Stan Humphries
with
would
Dick
have
and
been
Dottie.
the quarterback for
High
San Diego.
Society, which was a show on CBS. A Tomb with a View, Chicago Hope, David E. Kelly's The Ethics of Hope. Somewhere else, we had Fox was airing the Clio Awards. NBC had one of those. Do you remember before YouTube was a huge thing? Every once in a while, they would take prime time to air like a bloopers show. Like NBC was running All-Star TV bloopers. I used to love those. Sometimes, what was his name? Not Dick Clark. Johnny Carson's guy. The lottery guy.
Yes, yes, I know who you mean.
Oh no, it's gonna bug me. Come on, we gotta come up with it.
I'm too busy looking up who was playing.
He would often
football
host
in
them
1995.
anyway, and that was All-Star TV bloopers. Movie of the week was Visitors of the Night and Star Trek Voyager. Keith,
yes,
rocking the episode Resistance, followed up by Nowhere Man, which was another sci-fi thing that UPN aired at the time.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it was Stan Humphries for San Diego. I would not have gotten Oakland. I would have guessed Jeff Hostetler, but it was Vince Evans was the quarterback for the Oakland Raiders.
Ed McMahon!
Ed McMahon, there it is. So, it is interesting. You mentioned that Voyager was doing Resistance this
Which happens to be
episode.
futile. Everyone knows it's futile.
It is indeed. But do you know who the giant guest star was? Who has now been a part of your life for a while? In real life.
In real life.
Or at least a part of Jen's life, because,
Is Jackie?
Not Jackie. But
Joel Grey.
But good. Joel Grey was the big guest star on the episode Resistance. Joel Grey, for those of you counting at home who don't know our lives intimately, directed the production of Fiddler in Yiddish that Jen did for many, many years.
So many years.
All right. Now, enough of that nonsense. We need to get down to hard business with the weekly world news headline, more aliens. This one, a space alien was shot down by a Nevada hunter who, holding that poor alien with a knife to its throat, just miles from Area 51. You know what? That might be Quark!
It could be. We've seen,
Quark got
there is
abducted
evidence.
by a MAGA lunatic. This is not good.
There is evidence of that. Yes, not too bad. Great special effects and an outtake from Predator, it looks like.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's not a welcome, I was saying to Mike before we began the show, I'm feeling a little bit of existential crisis about the state of the world, and I believe that picture represents pretty much what's going on in my head right now. Let's move forward. So the director of this episode, remember we're talking about season 4, episode 9, Our Man Bashir, was Weinrich Colby, who last directed Through the Looking Glass. It was written by Ronald D. Moore, legendary writer, who last wrote Rejoined, with a story by Bob Gillen. And this is Bob's only writing credit. Obviously went in and pitched, why don't you do a James Bond parody? And boy,
but never say James Bond.
No, we're going to get into that a little bit in our next segment, which we call... We call it by a thing. There's a whole button.
Yeah.
Now, Keith, waste your time.
With what?
With trivial trivia. All right. MGM Studios, the owner of the James Bond movie franchise, were said to be unhappy happy with this episode, which
Quite
they
litigious.
felt
Quite litigious.
crossed the line from parody to infringement.
Well, they even like flirt with the theme musically many times. So they're
Yeah, but that's a parody.
I don't disagree.
They're 100% wrong. Studio officials sent a letter to Deep Space Nine producers expressing their displeasure, which resulted in the cancellation of a planned sequel episode.
Oh, what a shame.
About the further adventures. I will not get further into that. Spoilers. However, this is similar to a controversy that happened when Next Generation attempted to spoof Sherlock Holmes in elementary Dear Data.
So I always assumed that Sherlock Holmes was just in public domain at that point, which is why it wasn't a problem. But I guess not.
Well, it turns out it was, but they didn't really realize that until season 6 when they brought it back. So, they were a little gun shy. I think on both of these cases, had they done a little research, talked to a copyright lawyer, they would have known they were in the clear. But I think they just didn't want to piss off MGM. Even if it was, even if they were legally in the right, I don't think they wanted to burn that bridge.
What's so funny is that I mentioned on the watch along, and I'll stand by it, is how much vibes this episode seems to have influenced by the way it sends up James Bond, Austin Powers. The comedic sensibility is almost identical in many ways, in which case clearly, I mean, Austin Powers always, I'm sure, is paying homage to those spy thrillers and James Bond, but also there's a clear sensibility of the comedic similarities between this episode and that pistache.
Yeah, well, and it's like, how do you send up James Bond? How do you send up the tropes of that? And you pick a specific era of it, which this was set in 1964.
The 60s,
so,
right, yeah.
So it was certainly sending up the Sean Connery Bond era, and it changes, because the series has been going on for 50 years. But yeah, Bond parody is a whole thing. I've done one myself. With if you've ever heard the tune, which I'm sure you haven't, the gender-flipped Bond theme, which called Scrotum Galore, which I feel it's been performed a couple times. It's good fun. Anyway, but speaking of other Bond parodies, the title of this episode is an homage to Our Man Flint, an early parody of James Bond, which came out in 1966. So the Bond parody industrial complex has been running for a very long time.
Before you continue, because it seems like a good place to slot it right now, I've got some sketches that I want to share for the spoof. This was some of the ideas for gadgets.
Ooh.
In Our Man Bashir, we got the shoe that had a little gun built into the bottom. Did we actually end up seeing that?
I don't.
We get to see the gun, right? But
he does pull it out all of a sudden. I don't know if I saw it in the heel.
Yeah, it's cool, but you can see they really went for it. I think it's pretty clear that the whole cast and production elements of the show were giddy over this.
Oh my God! Yeah.
They also shot. It was the longest shoot of the season. It was 9 full days of shooting.
Yeah. It was really, really fun. As Bashir and Garak fight their way through the holosuite program, the underscored music is a sultry, jazzy version of the Deep Space Nine main theme,
I
which
would not have picked that up. Yeah, I would not have
on the live stream. Orchestrated in the same style of course, 1960s era James Bond films. Now that is the task I, as the musician, would have loved to have worked on. The episode's original air date was scheduled to coincide with the release of the James Bond movie GoldenEye, which was Pierce Brosnan's first outing as the spy, which I believe was the top movie last week. So they, oops. But it was still very much in the cultural lexicon, which made more sense that they would be doing this parody. The golden headboard of twisting leaves on the rotating bed revealing Kira, get ready for this, would later be seen in the film The Birdcage, also filmed on the Paramount lot.
I think Jason mentioned that last night.
Phenomenal film.
Also, I guess worth pointing out, Jason had mentioned this, and then first
appearance of Tux.
and I read a couple quotes about it. This was the first episode shot after Alexander Siddig had expressed his feelings for Nana, and they got together. So this is the first episode they did after becoming a romantic couple, which you can kind of see the giddiness on screen.
Was it right? Was it that? I thought they were dating early. Maybe they.
No,
I don't know.
She says a direct quote. There's a direct quote from Nana saying this was the first episode, and she went on to give more into, if we're getting into the salaciousness of it, that they had figured out that much like Odo, he had harbored feelings for her for a long time during productions that she did not know about. She thought they were just friends. So as much as we get on Bashir, all right, he was able to successfully navigate out of the friend zone in real life. So.
I mean, hats off.
Yeah.
Hats off. Well played, sir. Yeah. So that was yeah. Well, I mean, who wouldn't?
Yeah. I mean, God bless.
The as you mentioned, the most Deep Space Nines are shot in 7 days, with the occasional episode taking 8. Our man Bashir took 9. And according to producer Steve Oster, it had the longest production of any single episode. The main reasons for this were the elaborate stunts, which took time to set up and reshoot, take after take, with a large number of complex sets, many of which presented their own unique problems. For examples, when the crew arrived to begin shooting in Dr. Noah's lair, they immediately saw that the backdrop of the Himalayan mountains had mountains with no snow on them, and as such, they had to be taken down and sent to a scenic crew to add snow. All of which, Oster points out, cost time and money.
Keith, he was gonna melt. He was gonna flood everything. That's why he's Noah. Oh, I didn't understand the bad guy name until right now.
I'll explain all the names.
Okay.
Mona loves it.
Mona loves it.
You see,
nailed it.
You know what she loves? She loves something that makes you
Mona. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Dr. Honeybear to you, okay?
All right, you know who we loves it very much, and are always doctors to us because they fill our honeypot, and that is our patrons. Michael.
We got to update this slide because there have been some shifts in.
I did, buddy.
Oh, you did. Look at that, buddy. Okay. Anyway, our patrons, as you might have heard, one of the big perks here is now we do a live stream. Just adding crap for me to do in my life. A live stream of me watching every episode. We enjoy a little chit chat with the patrons. We had a great crew last night. You can get in on that for only $1, folks. $1 will get you in. Bryant, Kimbo Beersock, Casey Clark, Jason Moe, those are the folks who give us more than $1 because they are the 4 Pippers. Then we got Joshua Cronin, we love you, Josh, Andrew Hayes, Jorge Naveau, and the mysterious Household Wharf, Big Ol' Blue Chips, Charles Babbage, Richard Coleman, Harry Pothead, Peter Bank, CRM Productions, Nikolai Ivanovich, Lobachevsky, Delusions at Noon, YouTube Viewer, JD Makes, James Hubbard, Colin Diggin, Chris Mitchell, CRM, Pat, Joshua Cronin. Folks, you can get in on that, patreon.com/KNM. We're doing an Ask Me Anything. Questions are rolling in. Can't wait. All kinds of good stuff. We appreciate you for being producers on the show. That's patreon.com/KNM.
Yeah, you don't want to miss out on all of the nonsense. Yeah, lots of nonsense. Let's talk about our guest stars. Which include, of course, Max Grodenchik as Rom, who at this point should just be a regular cast member. Kenneth Marshall as Michael Eddington, also verging into that direction. And special guest star, I'm glad that he gets the special guest star credit because he freaking deserves it. Andrew Robinson as Garak, with co-stars Melissa Young as Caprice and Marcy Brickhouse as Mona Loves It. What do you say we go into our screening room, Mike?
It's time. Ba 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 ba.
Ooh, it's so sparkly today. We begin. Ooh, great screenshot. Look at the glass just flying.
Well, that's what happens when you get thrown through that tempered glass.
Yeah. I'm assuming that's probably sugar glass. It damn well better be.
No, I think they had to use tempered for this one. That was in the companion this week.
Was it really?
For reasons, yeah, to get the shot they wanted.
That's not safe. We begin with a tuxedoed Bashir, Julian Bashir, playing James Bond in the Hollow Suite. He takes out the one-eyed bad guy with champagne and kisses the buxom lady before Garak arrives and applauds, also in his tux. Bashir is very annoyed that Garak broke into his program, which is technically illegal, and very much should be.
Mom, I'm taking a shower. Don't, Mom!
Yeah, 100%. He had the incognito tab open. You do not go in there, buddy. Leave a man to his fantasy.
Oh, boy.
Garak
There's so much wrong with that, but, okay.
Yeah. Garak teases him about being embarrassed. He's been holed up playing this secret program for weeks, and Garak shames him into letting him stay while standing at kissing depth for the entire scene. I hope you have a screenshot of that. This conversation, as this progresses forward, they get closer and closer and closer. Yeah.
That's a great
to
sequence.
the point where, like, I understand we're in 4:3.
Yeah.
But they are, look at this picture. They are 100%. There's no reason for them to be this close.
I hope that just in everyone's trailer, it's just Listerine. It's just Listerine, because it's so much close talking.
Because, like, whatever it is they ate, the other person is eating it at this particular
No
moment.
onions at craft service, please.
No. But yeah, I mean, the subtext here is clear.
So I'm going to assume, just to fix the plot hole for myself,
Okay.
that Bashir has missed many a lunch at this point.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Garak is like, yo, let me talk to Quark. Let me get me a key to the Hollow Suite because I need to know what's going on. Make sure he's okay.
And also,
I want to see his naughty bits, maybe.
I mean, maybe, or definitely 1,000,000% yes. He wants to see what he's up to and maybe play along, which is exactly what he does. So, Garak has never seen Funny Girl, we mentioned here. Just a don't rain on my parade joke.
I just started reading Barbara's book, by the way. You want to talk about trivial trivia? It's not in order. It's just random thoughts. It is 998 pages of just random Barbara. It's worth it. Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's pretty nuts. She puts Mandy Patinkin on blast, and she did not call and tell him.
No, I mean, woof, going after Mandy. All right, well. I mean, I did hear the quote about that.
He was unprofessional, man. He was unprofessional, apparently, says Barbara Streisand.
Well, I mean, we'll have to investigate the narrator, but certainly, Mandy is a passionate fellow. Although,
he wanted to have Sunday in the park with Barbara, apparently.
He apparently did. Yeah. Anyway, what are we doing? Where the hell are we? What are we talking about? You and I need
brought
to
up
talk
Funny Girl,
offline.
okay?
Which has nothing to do with Mandy Patinkin. How did we get from Funny Girl to Mandy Patinkin?
We went to Barbara to Mandy.
Okay.
Has Mandy ever been on Trek? Seems like a natural fit.
No, because Mandy, I don't think does sci-fi. I think he'd be like, I don't understand this. Why am I here? This doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah. Is my understanding of how Mandy would do
with like
that.
a floaty head voice.
I don't understand this. I don't know. He's Irish all of a sudden.
Well, it's like Colm, right? They're like, will you give us an accent this episode? And Colm's like, yeah, no.
Yeah, no. All right. Well, anyway, I don't know Mandy, so it's I'm not speaking from experience, merely reputation. Anyway, Garak teases Bashir further after having cockblocked him intentionally. So he goes into his private browser tab and then mocks him mercilessly the entire talk.
And closes the tab, almost. Or he changes it. He opens up a different one.
Yeah, he's like, oh, check out this. But he finishes the act with what could possibly go wrong. Of course, because that's fun. In Act 1, Garak and Bashir arrive at Bashir's 1964 Hong Kong apartment. Bashir's buxom valet, Mona Loves It, arrives. Hilarious
Just
and great,
awesome.
and the way Bond worked at that point, like, it's not even parody. It's just a name they totally would have used.
Yeah, Bond at this point, 60s Bond also, like, it adopted a very Well, first of all, just shout out the visual look too. Just like in Little Green Men, it's subtle, but it's there. Like where in Little Green Men, it was sort of desaturated slightly, and like what's it called when you put that like sepia-ish?
Yeah, sepia tone. Or whatever.
This is very much oversaturated, very 60s oversaturated. The primary colors, which is noticeable. Appreciate it. It's very much Batman in the 60s as well. It was like almost a parody of itself. It was self-serious without taking itself serious, if that makes sense. Which is exactly what they're going for here, and I think they nail it.
No, and I think doing the color correction and lighting differences tonally, that's something that the holodeck does, and does really well. And we'll know that in Voyager when we get there, because they do a send up of 50s serials of like sci-fi serials, which is in black and white.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
when you go into the holodeck, it's black and white. So super fun. Anyway, she opens up a secret wall filled with guns, but Garak only wants to know more about the valet. Bashir explains that he's been playing a spy, and Garak says, "I joined the wrong intelligence service." Meanwhile, Sisko and the rest of the Starfleet cast are arriving back at the station. And of course, something goes terribly wrong. They've been sabotaged, and Eddington beams them out just as the runabout explodes. You know, this is a season 1 or season 2.
That's why they're not on the Defiant.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Ship shows up next to the ship and immediately blows up, but they are able to beam him out. It's another runabout dead. They need to get the extended warranty on the runabouts.
I do like though that it's not your general just like, oh, we had a malfunction in the transporter or in the holodeck, right? You know what I mean? It's like it's a transporter issue, which is cool, and it was like an attempted sabotage. So there is some intrigue. I mean, it's not particularly important, but there is some intrigue there, and they do mix up the technobabble that gets us into our pickle. So I think points for an effort.
Right. They at least made a gesture towards having it make any sense.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Eddington beams about, just the runabout explodes. They start materializing on the pad, but then there's an explosion, and they're gone. I wonder where they're gonna end up at the end of Act 1. Then Eddington explains to Odo that their patterns are still in the buffer, but they need to save as before the patterns start degrading. Eddington tells the computer to delete whatever's necessary to save the files. Mike starts having a panic attack because people are putting files on his Dropbox.
I mean, Keith, even in the future, we got to worry about storage space. So, I mean, come on. If we got to delete everything on the runabout just to save some lives, I mean, what
for a human consciousness? Of course, I want to know, like, this.
We're gonna have to upgrade, buddy. The basic plan is not gonna cut it here.
The commercial.
Yeah, we got to go Enterprise, baby.
Well, I mean, it is a little bit confused. I mean, it opens up a wormhole. The transporter never makes any sense anyway, right? But the transporter buffer is able to handle all of someone's consciousness and brain, but I haven't. No, computer home. Unfortunately, my Alexa above my machine that computes, its wake word is, of course, and it's...
Yeah, like how many gigs is a Cisco? You know what I mean?
A lot of gigs, I imagine. A lot of gigs. Anyway, but the buffer can do it, but they can't save. Weird. Anyway,
they don't have a thumb drive they could pop them on or something?
You would think. You would think. You'd think that... considering how often we're using transporter technology, we might have like a backup like hard drive somewhere, just in case something like this happens. It doesn't matter, Mike. We're doing Bond, okay?
Okay, all right.
They're saved, but Eddington doesn't know where. Gotta put it in the right folder. Meanwhile, in the holosuite, Garak and Bashir discuss why a spy is such a peacock when they hear a bump.
And shop at Today's Man, apparently.
Yeah, Men's Warehouse. Bashir hits a secret button that rotates the wall and exposes his bed. Awesome. And Kira, now with a Russian accent.
Oh no, Mike's in the way.
Slinky slip shows up. Mike,
what do you want?
Don't decapitate Kira, that's mean.
How do I get myself out of here?
You can't beam yourself out.
Hey, there she is.
That was gross.
Come on, we have
But
to
it's
see her
Kira.
face.
Uh-oh. Bashir is annoyed that Garak invited more folks to the party. It's like, it's bad enough you walk in on me. You're going to bring in my crush?
Yeah, well, in this case, it worked out for him.
It did. It did. It turns out she's a Russian KGB spy and does not break character. So they realize it's not Kira. And of course, the program can't be closed or altered because that wouldn't be any fun.
I mentioned this yesterday, but I have to say it again. So basically, everybody showed up at table read, right, at the beginning of the week, and everybody had like an idea for their fun cosplay character they were gonna do, right? And they're like, "Oh, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna make them laugh, right? We got Falcon, we got Dr. Noah, we got it all." And then Nana walks in, and she's like, "Oh, y'all thought you were prepared? I'm bringing character. I did research. I did spoof. I'm doing sexy. I've got everything. Oh, you didn't? Oh, you don't have an accent? Okay, that's okay."
Well, it said in read somewhere that she was so excited.
Oh, I'm sure.
To do this, like, oh, you want me to do a bad Russian accent and a slinky thing? Hell yes.
Awesome.
And you can tell she enjoyed this.
And so whoever was doing sideburns this week, on point.
Sideburns are very important in Star Trek. Star Trek is like 90% sideburns.
There's that headboard you mentioned.
Oh, yes. Yes. Boy, that would be a good headboard to get if you were a fan of both Star Trek and the Birdcage, which I am a fan of both.
So. Great movie.
So much fun.
Wait, Keith, because I am me. You ready for it?
Uh-huh. Oh, there it is. Oh, look at young Nathan Lane.
Yeah, that's crazy, actually. There she is. All right. Recycle, reuse, renew, baby.
Hey, Paramount. But it's great. I mean, why wouldn't you use it again? Where the heck? Oh, yes. So Bashir calls ops and Eddington says, don't end the program. The crew's patterns, their physical patterns, are now in the holosuite. Their mental patterns are saved on the Dropbox, but the physical patterns are in the holosuite. If you leave, you might kill everybody. So I guess he better keep playing. Aw, shucks. So we find out the plot of our little Bond story here. There's been a series of artificial earthquakes, and the KGB wants to team up with the Brits to figure out who's doing it. And the seismology professor Honeybear has been kidnapped. And of course, it's Dax. Oh, that's Dr. Honeybear. Bashir explains that if any of their characters are killed, the computer will erase their patterns. So not only do you have to keep the program running, you have to save all the characters, most of which are whatever the opposite of plot protected are.
Yeah, it's great. Great twist, right?
Plot doomed.
Instead of just a normal thing, instead of the good guy having to save all the good guys, he's got to save all the bad guys. Great little twist.
Save all the bad guys, too. Then the doors open. Mona Loves It is dead. Aww. And in comes Chief O'Brien as Falcon, the one-eyed bad guy.
No, I'm behind. Sorry.
You gotta keep up with all this.
Also, the other thing about this episode we'll talk is Garak playing against type, which is great.
Right. Well, him playing the real spy in the fake spy.
Great classified folders here. There's excellent sight gags in this episode. Excellent sight gags, and just like maybe not always gags, but sight spoof as well. Like it's just great stuff.
The set and prop folks had a blast. See, that classified folder would be a great prop to have.
And all the goons just wearing the like knit caps.
Yeah. Well, and they didn't have much more of a budget in 1964 than they do now for this.
Have we seen a Falcon comb custom? Because that's awesome.
I'm sure it exists. I am sure it is out there. So, send it to me.
That feels like a Christmas present for Keith, is that eye patch.
You just want to see another pudgy guy with an eye patch.
What do you want? I just want to see you on an episode without your glasses wearing that eye patch is what I want. Just like blind ass Keith with a patch.
Great. Who spends the entire episode reading?
Yeah.
All right. So they're going to Paris. Meanwhile, Rom and Quark show Odo and I can't see. Ah.
Oh, so cool.
Anyway. Bashir and Kira use an exploding earring to knock out the bad guys. But we discover that Garak started bleeding in the fight. And what does that mean, Mike?
That means the safeties are off, Keith.
It sure does, which is not good news. I've messed up my sound. Everything's the eye patch joke was too much for me.
Too much is me learning that there are safety rails on that can be disabled in the holosuite. That really blew my mind.
It happens every single time. I don't think I would say of episodes that are holosuite or holodeck based. Not that we go there a little bit, but like that is our episode. I'd say 80% to 90% of them have something that causes the safety to go off.
So if I'm go skiing and I break my leg on the program, I walk into work that night and I'm like, sorry, leg broke.
100%. Yes. Well, I mean, and we know that it happens to O'Brien all the time. That's why he's always busting his shoulder doing the doing the kayaking. All of it. So, so and you guys sort of get to determine your level of risk when you go into the holodeck. And so Worf's always turning it off so he can fight the bad guys and with real risk. I understand why there is sort of a sliding scale there, because you want, like, if I'm playing hockey, like I want to be able to feel if I get hit.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, think about the ramifications that come with that as far as like workman's comp goes, you know?
Well, you are doing it at work. However, think about medicine, right? Oh, I've got a compound fracture. Let me wave a little light on it.
Yeah.
And it's immediately fixed.
That's a good point.
So, yeah. Anyway, now the consequences are the consequences. So Garak tells Bashir, you're going to have to stop playing this like a game that's safe because now this is real. And just be forewarned, you might not be able to save everybody. Garak, always the pragmatist. So they're going to go to Paris to continue the mystery. Meanwhile, Rom and Quark show Odo and Eddington the holosuite circuitry.
There was a moment there where I thought, with that Garak beat, that the episode had a potential, right, to actually be about the juxtaposition. I love that word, apparently, on this show. I hear myself say it all the time. The juxtaposition between the idea of super spies and like it always works out for Bond, you know, versus real life super spy where sacrifices and good people are lost. And I was like, oh, maybe this is going to go in a different direction. But of course, by that point, we've already firmly established that we're in like camp universe. And
we're having fun.
Yeah, the episode never actually goes there, so.
It does to some extent. I mean, the conversation, Garak's point of view here.
Yeah, we do get to see it a little bit later as well. So,
but it's not done in a serious fashion. It's done in a more, this may not be the end of our spycraft.
But here comes don't sleep on this little Rom beat. The fact that we've now introduced Rom as this sort of like super engineer genius, and that he's getting to like dalliance with the other really great minds on the show is awesome. Chef's kiss.
Oh, it's great. He's had to jerry-rig the entire holosuite because, of course, Quark won't pay to buy any real parts or upgrade it. So he's just grabbed things from around the station, including a spatula.
He MacGruber's it.
He MacGruber's it. It's hilarious and great, and also speaks to his genius, which is really cool. We confirm here that our heroes' bodies are active in the holosuite, but their brain patterns need to be stored at the quantum level. And that is what's using the rest of the station's memory. Which is cool. But we arrive in a Paris club that includes caged go-go dancers and fine art for some reason. This is where they were to begin the caper, right? We were there here in the first scene. But like, what club has caged go-go dancers and fine art on the wall?
Keith, that's just a world we don't live in, buddy. I mean, let's not say.
Boy, is that the damn truth.
Also, like, no shade to Siddiq here. None. But that's how you don't fill out a tux. And in a moment, Keith, we're going to meet somebody who fills out a tux.
Yes, well, he doesn't do as many push-ups as Michael Dorn. I think he looks great, though. So they go to meet Duchamp, Dr. Noah's assistant, Worf, in a white tuxedo, who's gambling. Worf looks great.
Just awesome. Every reveal of our main cast is awesome in this episode.
So much fun. So much fun. Bashir poses as a geologist. And Duchamp says he will set up a meeting for 5 million francs. And then, of course, they start playing cards for the money. Another Bond trope. On the station, we find out that a Cardassian separatist group called the New Way took responsibility for the sabotage. Which this is where I feel like the technobabble justification of this is a little more interesting than usual. Because it's tied to our main story, right? Because we know that the Cardassian government has been overthrown, and with all the Dominion stuff, and now there's a separatist. It's a separatist movement from the separatist movement, which took over, going on in Cardassia. So there's a little crumb of our larger world and stuff that matters here.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I probably am, but it does seem to me that this is a lesson a little bit learned from some of those TNG Sherlock Holmesy episodes, where they feel like those felt very much more isolated, whereas this feels like they make more of an attempt to continue our main plot, even if it's in little breadcrumbs, just to keep it feeling less as like an isolated offshoot episode.
No, for sure, and that's what Deep Space Nine does really well, is that we're advancing stories while telling other stories. So even the the Rom part of it all, finding out more about Rom's technical abilities, what he's doing, we learn a little bit more about Quark. These are things that will play out further, that matter later, even in this silly, whatever window dressing we have to allow us to go on this Bond adventure. So, Rom knows they need to beam them back into their bodies, and Eddington smartly suggests using the Defiant, which has independent transporters and computers. Duh, smart, makes sense. So, Bashir and Bond naturally wins at gambling, and it turns out they're playing Baccarat, which is a sport that I don't even know is real. It always gets referenced in these old-timey things, but I have no idea what the rules are or how that works. What's up, Tugs? But so Bashir wins the money, and Worf says, all right, I'm going to bring you to the big bad, but I'm going to do it by using a poison gas cigar that knocks them all out.
Another LOL, which I loved.
So clever and so smart. And you'll notice when he opens the cigar thing, he has one of them has a red label and the other two have yellow, so he knows which one is the poison gas one and doesn't knock himself out. So he takes them to the mountaintop lair of Dr. Noah. Dr. Noah, of course, is Cisco. But before we get there, of course, Garak has to complain about the set dressing and the decorating. And immediately upon seeing Avery Brooks as Dr. Noah, why has Avery Brooks never been a Bond villain?
I don't know. He just, the chance to flex here was too great not to really luxuriate in it.
Everybody else is like, yeah, okay. He and Nana did a big high five at the table read here, because they were like, let's do it. So in Act 4, Cisco tests Bashir's knowledge of gems, which he knows for some reason. But of course, it's like another Bond trope. So here's another thing I have a question about, like the holodeck, the holosuite of it all. Like, I understand that it's a Bond trope that he magically knows everything about everything, but how does Bashir know everything about everything? Right? Because we don't see the holosuite giving him that information. He's got an earpiece or whatever that allows him to play it out.
But if they say he's been playing at this game for weeks and weeks. So maybe he's been doing his research, or he's rerunning the plot so that, because it seems to me like, this was my read of it, is, I'm sorry to really get detailed about this, but in video games, right, some people like to, in like the experiences where, like survival horror, where you have one bullet and you're looking for your next thing and you're scavenging and you're underpowered the whole time. That's not what I like in video games. I like to be OP, superhero-esque, all the bad guys bow to my whims, I just like mow them all down. That's what I like. I feel like Bashir,
you're like a megalomaniacal.
Yeah, Bashir is very much the same way here. So I think he's played this enough times that he can now run through the campaign and basically speed run it. I think that's where we're at.
That's funny. Or here's my alternate version of that. The holodeck is
like the Matrix.
Set up. No. It's set up to whatever gobbledygook comes out of your mouth. Everyone's like, yeah,
it translates.
That's right.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Whatever bullshit you say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a smobmorphian gem there. Yeah,
also known as Mike's professional career.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's like, yeah, those are definitely windows.
Yeah, those are words you just said.
Yeah. So
that's funny.
Anyway, so he knows the lair that they're in is on the top of Everest at 25,000 feet, which is hilarious and great and so 60s Bond villain. Love it.
Nothing beats the laser wall. The rotating big map with just blinky lights is the most Bond thing of all Bond things.
So good. Cisco does the Bond villain monologue. He's going to flood the planet like the original Superman movie, and only Everest will be above ground. You know what? When you flood a planet and only a few people survive, you and some dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
You know who that is? That's Noah.
Yeah.
See. So they then fly out the wall, and Dax is there setting up the lasers. The set looks
so good.
Fantastic.
Ugh.
If I had unlimited money, like that would be.
That's
one
the
of
thing,
the
Keith.
things
We talk about this. We joke about this a lot. It's not worth doing unless you're willing to overdo it, and especially when you're doing this type of spoof, you have to overdo it, and they just strike that balance. No wonder this is like a famous one.
It's so much fun, and it's honestly not as expensive as it seems, right?
No, because part of it is that it's big and over the top, but it's also kind of hoax style. Like it's just a big like trivia
the
board.
60s.
Yeah.
Right, and it's a simple wall that's on a fly system, just like you do in theater, with a backlit, plastic film, but it looks amazing. Anyway,
so does Terry Farrell, by the way.
I mean, obviously. Avery is having so much fun in this character, and I wrote down honestly, and I stand by this. This is a great Bond movie plot.
Yeah.
This 100% could have been a plot to a Bond movie, and I would have been delighted by it. Lasers to cause the
but Avery Brooks is
planet?
actually the perfect analogy here. His performance, it's ridiculous, right?
Of course it is.
Over the top, cheering the scenery, all that stuff. But at the same time, he is 1,000% committed to it. And in the context of what we're doing, it works 1,000,000% because of it. So this is what I'm saying with he's clearly not taking himself too seriously, but he is approaching the performance seriously, which is such a difficult thing to do. I can't, as a comedy writer, Keith, you can speak to this. It is not easy to ride that line, to go for it, but also not mock it. You know what I mean? It's really difficult.
Well, that's the thing. In most good comedy, and I think most successful comedy, the characters don't know that they're in a comedy.
Right.
They're doing ridiculous things in ridiculous ways, but if they know they're in a comedy, it changes the nature of what it is. Now, there are some times where the winkiness, you sort of break the fourth wall, and that works in some context. But
live usually. Usually only works live. See the producers Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick. Right. Half of the fun of that show was them breaking the fourth wall and talking to the audience. But that doesn't work. If they did that in the movie, it would not work.
Well, I mean, what makes Will Ferrell so funny? He's playing ridiculous characters, doing ridiculous things that have absolutely no awareness
Great point.
that they're doing ridiculous things in ridiculous ways. Yeah. And his commitment is what makes him funny. And I think that's what's happening with Avery here as well. However, the gig is up. He knows that Bashir is Bashir, setting up the finale. The ruse. It didn't work. On the Defiant, Rom continues working, just tearing up the Defiant. It's funny. And they have 1 hour. So they've got to keep this thing spinning for another hour. In Bondville, our heroes are tied to a giant laser. It's gonna fry them in 5 minutes. Frickin' lasers. And another great set piece.
Let's go.
Talks, buddy.
Yeah.
Being a problem.
He ruined everything. Blew it all. He blew it all.
Another awesome set piece that they had to build there. I mean, I say had to build. I think the word is got to build.
Yeah.
So Garak reminds them that the safety protocols are off, and we have 5 minutes or we're going to be burned up. I think it's time to end the program.
Yeah, it's a terrible way to go. Burned by lava, pretty bad.
Magma. Then scientist Dax comes in.
Keep talking.
And Bashir knows that the only solution at this point in the Bond canon is to seduce her in the grossest possible fashion. And so he seduces her in the great 1964, like, horribly misogynistic, stupid way. And at least Garak has the sense to groan, which was funny. It works, and of course he gets a handcuff key. No, I don't know, did she give him the handcuff key, or did he take the handcuff key off of her?
I think it's implied in the next scene that she was a part of the escape.
Yeah, and she gave it to him. So Bashir heads off on the rescue, and Garak wants to cut their losses and risk killing everyone. They wander through the cave set arguing. Garak is annoyed at the play-acting version of his life's work, which there's a part of me in my ego that understands.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why are you making fun of this thing that I've devoted my entire life to? However, I wouldn't want to, try to kill all of my friends. So Bashir threatens to shoot Garak if he ends the program, and he is eventually forced to shoot him. And this definitely turns Garak on.
Yeah, he's into it.
They burst in and almost
But also it is a subtle important thing for Garak, because the last couple episodes we've had Garak-centric, he's become more protagonist than antagonist. And what we love about him is that he rides that line so well. So the fact that he was willing to just basically kill everybody here was a good way to kind of shift the hourglass back to enigmatic.
Well, we are reminded that Garak's number one, his defining character is survival. He is a survivor. Mm-hmm. And that he wants to do the right thing. I think he's ostensibly a good guy, but he's not willing to sacrifice himself for the greater good. He wants the greater good, but he's going to survive.
Yeah, I think the only thing we know for 1,000% certainty is that he ends this episode with a tighter tuxedo than when he started. After Bashir shoots him. This is an erection joke.
Oh! I was like, did he get fat? No, yeah, his lower tuxedo is tighter.
Yeah, the cummerbund, if you will. It has some elastic in it.
Hopefully just elastic.
Yeah, you had to tuck it up. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's go.
Cummerbund. Okay. Gross. Where am I?
He did shoot him in the neck, though. That was a close call. There's the face. But he's like, yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'm into that. So they burst in and almost save everyone until Worf shows up and holds them at gunpoint. Eddington calls in to say, you've got 2 minutes before we can beam everyone out. Luckily, Avery can monologue for 2 minutes.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Not a problem, but only if Bashir pretends to join him. So Bashir then gives the same monologue that Garak just did about knowing when to quit. Then he hits the final Earth-killing laser, because why not, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be one of the fun things about doing a holosuite program like this, because you can play it babyface or heel,
mm-hmm.
right? And just like, what if I just go off in this other crazy direction? Because like video games won't really let you do that.
Sometimes,
right?
but it's very binary, right? It's like, oh, you chose the bad guy path, so you can't.
Right.
You're locked out of other things.
But it is, you're limited in paths, where in the holodeck you can really kind of do anything, and it's gonna adapt, which is awesome. Anyway, they beam everyone out, and we have saved our heroes, and we finish like every Bond movie does, and Julian Bashir, secret agent, will return, pending a letter from NGM.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
And that is our man Bashir. Mike, let's do our little award show, shall we?
Yeah, where's the button though for that? Here we go.
Gotta find the button. We're never gonna move along home. Okay, Mike, did you have any wormholes in this?
This is one of those episodes.
Plot?
I don't think we can spend too much time with it. I would say the technobabble with the buffering and the like, where is everybody? And like, if you just because they're storing them in the RAM of the holodeck, like, does that make the characters turn into them? It doesn't. It's like if I save my my Starfield save in my Dropbox for our show, it doesn't make your character face Starfield characters. So, but whatever, who cares? And also, you know, the tropes of the holosuite, we've discussed those, but also like, I mean, of course stuff's gonna go wrong, right? Would they have better safeties in check for the transporter and for the holodeck? Yeah, you would think, but you know, TV. So whatever. I don't think we should spend much time on wormholes here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about the safeties, the wormhole that this does not work for the Enterprise D, but I do think it works pretty well for Deep Space Nine. About the safeties going horribly wrong all the time. Remember, these are Quark's holosuites.
Yeah, that's fair.
Not Federation holosuites. Quark doesn't give a shit, right? And so, safety schmafties.
Here, you don't go to Deep Space Nine, the Quark holosuites for good, wholesome family fun.
Or put another way, when you open up that private tab, there's gonna be a pop-up or two.
Yeah.
Just gonna, you know,
get yourself a VPN. I hope you brought your own
hopefully
VPN.
At least one pop-up. You know what I mean? All right, that's terrible. All right. Let's talk about our best moment.
There's so much good stuff here. I think Nana just gets like just all of the cake and candy because she's so good. It was such a great spoof. It like captures that character in every Bond. Like, we know who we're doing right there. We know what we're sending up. But I'd be remiss if, you know, Avery Brooks, I don't know the guy, but he seems like a pretty serious dude. Like, all the interviews you read, like, he's pretty, like, you know, well-intentioned and, like, focused on
thoughtful, passionate. Yeah.
But talk about taking the safeties off. Someone, like, just, you know, did a software update on Avery Brooks this week and was like, go for it. And he did, and it brought me so much glee. And people had set me up for it. I mean, I kind of expected a big take coming, but nothing prepared me for just the fun he was having. There was exuberance, whimsy, kind of a maniacal insanity to it that I just loved. It was like almost, if you could make Jim Carrey stand still, right? And give me all the Jim Carrey, but like in a stillness, that was Avery Brooks this week. And I loved it. Every moment he was on screen, chef's kiss, best moment.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there's a lot of terrific performances. You know, I think this was one of Bashir's more likable.
100%, 100%.
And I thought the Garak Bashir dynamic was really fun. Sort of continued to advance that story forward, and and I loved Garak's intrusion on Bashir there. I mean, it would piss me the hell off, but I love it for the character. I think it was super interesting. But yes, I'm gonna knock it down to one specific moment for Avery, which we're able to highlight on the watch along at patreon.com/K&M, spell it that, and that is the look on Avery's face when he picks up the gun.
Mm-hmm.
A little gun. He has this ecstatic look of joy holding the gun, which was so ridiculous, but also so wonderful. So
hey, just shout out, though we do the watch-alongs live, they're also captured and put up, the recordings are put up on Patreon. So if you were to join the Patreon today and go over, you can still watch it.
You can watch all of them, all the way back to season 1.
Yep, they're all up there.
So there you go. You don't have to miss out. So that's my best moment. Mike, what do you say we throw out some stem bolts?
You get some stem bolts.
Are they self-sealing?
Hell yeah, they
Oh
are
my goodness.
self-sealing. Here are some stem bolts for you.
All right, so I'll get this out of the way. I actually disagree with you. My only real quibble with this episode is I don't quite grok how Garak is really like a part of this, like what his take is. I mean, I hear it, I get it, but it doesn't quite, like, why would he really go into the program, and why would he be so sort of obstinate about everything going on when it's clear that it's just kind of a fun game? I mean, I understand the points they're trying to make, and they're fine. It's not a real big bother, but it doesn't quite work for me. But that's the only thing.
That's fair.
I told this story last night. I'll say it again. I had to go to this murder mystery dinner theater interactive thing, which is all things I hate. I'm not big into interactive theater for myself. I don't like to be touched and involved. Like, if I'm going to watch something, just leave me alone.
Respect the fourth wall.
Yeah. But this troupe, and JD mentioned that he got one of his big breaks in a murder mystery type thing.
Yeah.
This troupe, this ensemble was so committed, was so specific, and it was a lot of it was improv, in their interactions with us, respectful. They knew they understood precisely the tone they were going for, and in exhibiting that tone, they brought us the, like, sort of, I mean, I'm an actor, so I can roll with it, but there were some other people who were not general performers who were involved in this thing. But they knew the tone of the game and the kind of the whimsy, because it was being so well modeled by the cast. That is exactly the feeling this episode gave me. They knew specifically how they were going to do this send-up. From the sight gags, to the production, to their performances, to the reveals, to the color saturation, to the sound design, to the musical motifs. It was so specific that even if you're not a Bond fan or had no context of 60s spy thrillers, you got something from it. You got what they're going for. They put in some breadcrumbs of overarching stuff, but still I view this as very much an isolated kind of capsule episode. And how can you not have fun when everyone is having so much fun? It's impossible. I mean, I imagine if you don't like it, you hate it. This is just like, you're just like, this isn't for me. I hate it, right? I don't see a lot of probably middling grades on this. Me personally, I loved it. When I LOL at a 25-year-old television show, I loved it. I was LOLing. It was a great episode to watch with people. This is one I would absolutely go back and watch again, because I'm sure I missed a ton of stuff. To see most of our characters get to do kind of different takes. I mean, Nana's always going to give you something great. Colm was basically like, give me an eye patch and let me point a gun, and that's kind of all I want. Got that. Michael Dorn just being badass. Awesome. Avery Brooks, mind-blowing. Just great. Dax, I wish we could have seen some more Terry Farrell, but she knew what she was playing and was like, okay, I'll give it to you. I just loved it, man. I love commitment, and there was commitment, and this isn't always the case. A lot of times, I feel like production elements, sound design, set design, artistic design overall, cinematography, is supposed to be unnoticeable, right? It's supposed to give its effects, and you don't see the people, right? It's behind the scenes because it's behind the scenes. But here, it felt like everybody was on the deck with them. It felt like everybody was out there taking a bow together as an ensemble. This one felt like a team effort. It read like a team effort. Oh man, it's hard not to get like to go crazy here. But I think that it puts itself into an A. It's going to lose some points because it's just, I can't give it the top rankings because it's not part of the grand arc, but I still want to give it an A. 91 self-sealing stem bolts.
Yeah. No, I think everything you said there was accurate. It's a really fun. It's fun.
It's
right?
fun.
It's like it's not really aspiring to be anything other than it is, and I think it really speaks to the range that Deep Space Nine is able to achieve. Like, think about this season, right? We're 9 episodes into season 4, and think about the range of things that we have done. We went Way of the Warrior, right? Giant action, like a movie, an action movie, exciting stuff. The Visitor, break your heart with father-son depth, life and death. You go and you do Rejoined. We have this exploration of Dax and her ex-wife, and then we do Silly. We do Little Green Men. We do our man Bashir. We do silly parodies. So you have like thought-provoking, intricate character feeling stuff. You have giant action sequences, and you have silly in 9 episodes. 9 episodes, and it's really, really amazing that they're able to do that. And so obviously I liked it. I loved all the performance, all the things you said. But I have one thought that is related to the fact that MGM got pissed off about this. And, you know, unlike the Mirror Universe, we're not going to get a new Bond caper every year because of that, which is, on the surface, that's disappointing. Because, like, I would have loved to have done one of these a year, right? However, I think about this all the time as a writer, right? Sometimes our limitations are what unlock or open up opportunity. And I think you know, saying this name isn't going to be a spoiler because Mike's not going to know what the hell it means. But I think this setting, this era, 60s Earth, being interesting to this cast and this world, I don't think if MGM hadn't shut down the Bond parody, we would have gotten Vic Fontaine. And my God, what an opportunity that got unlocked because they couldn't do the Bond thing again. And Mike, you're going to understand what that means in like 4 seasons, but it's going to be, I think, really worth it. Sometimes, you know, you're forced to come up with something else, and the something else is frequently better. And sometimes that's a limitation of the rights. Sometimes that's a limitation of budget. Sometimes it's you have a cast member that you were going to use, and you're going to have to focus on a different cast member, and you find out that cast member's phenomenal and has way more range and ability than you ever thought. And so it's an interesting just sort of exploration to sometimes know is the best thing that ever happened to you. So I think that's part of it. So yeah, for me, super fun, delightful. It's a little souffle of an episode. Happy to watch it every time it comes up. It's not going to stick with me forever, you know, but fun, super fun. So it gets 91.5 self-sealing stem bolts from me. You can check out all of our other nonsense, but before you do, I'll let you know that our man Bashir was the 47th out of 173 episodes of Deep Space Nine rated on IMDb, coming in at a 7.9 out of 10. Next week, we are going to be talking about the episode Homefront.
Okay.
Looking forward to Homefront. Not going to spoil anything, but I hope you're hungry for jambalaya. If you're hungry for more of our content, you can check out all of the shows above me here. Yeah, K&M Geekly. Every Monday we talk about geeky stuff. You can check out all of our episodes of Strange New Worlds on a show called Strange New Shows. Every Sunday we release Look at My Star Trek toys. And if you really, and this is, nobody's still listening at this point, but a lot of people sort of enjoy our sort of backstory and stuff about our lives and our personal lives. You get a lot of that on our show, The Out of Practice, which is our review show of David E. Kelly's The Practice. But even if you don't care about The Practice, the first 45 minutes of every episode is us reminiscing about what we were doing when The Practice aired in the 90s. Lots of interesting personal stories as a part of that. My mom listens to, that's the only part that she listens to.
That actually was the kind of the inception of Geekly, right? Was that 45 minutes. And also, the only reason I'm doing this episode is because of Out of Practice, because Keith told me, hey, I know you've never watched this show, but I promise you're going to dig it. And I did. And so I had to believe him when he said Deep Space Nine, because let me tell you, back in the 90s, Deep Space Nine looked stupid as hell to me. And I feel bad for it. I kept seeing Armin Shimmerman doing a bunch of interviews and press for the show, and I was like, nah, it's not a character I'm interested in. And so I just dismissed it entirely, and so I'm so excited to be revisiting with gray in my hair now. So here we go.
Yeah, there it is. All right, well, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/KNM. All of our socials are here on the screen. We will see you back here next week with Homefront. Till then, this has been Keith and Mike. Watch Deep Space Nine. Thank you for watching KNM Entertainment. If you enjoyed our particular brand of nonsense, please like and subscribe. Or become one of our patrons at patreon.com/KNM.